Hey, what's up, everyone? So this is your boy Corey in the house. You already know, man. I got Curtis Cook with me, also Douda from the Shy. Many of you know him as the man. First of all, Curtis, talk to me a little bit how you doing today, man.
It's a beautiful day. It's a bright, sunny day here on the East Coast. I think you're in Georgia, right? You're in Savannah, somewhere
Yes,
around there.
sir.
We're not down in the South like that, but it's a beautiful day. I think it's like 80 degrees. So, when the sun is shining, you wake up with a smile on your face.
Hey, man.
Ting.
Hey, man. You got a lot to smile about, especially as of here recently. We're going to talk a little bit about the Shy, but first of all, I just want to talk to you about getting into acting. Was this something that you always knew that you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was. I didn't know that I could do it and get paid for it and make a living out of it. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Otis of five. Um, Black low to middle income family. Basically, we were poor, but as you know, you hear this a whole lot of time. We were poor, but we didn't know we were poor because we were just living because everybody around us had the same problem, the same situation. I did community theater in Dayton, and I in high school and junior high. And then in high school, I did this huge production with this huge organization called the Muse Machine, run by Miss Susie Pisani. And after that, man, I was just going to go to the Navy, come back, work where my dad worked in Montgomery County engineer, and make about 40 grand a year. And then just think and get a wife. And my wife, I was with my girlfriend at the time, and like, you know what? The world is going to be my oyster. And it was Miss Pisani who said, no, you have too much talent for that. And thus introduced me to the principal of Mount View Theatre School in London, England. It changed my life forever, man. So still at that point, I was like, well, this is fun. I'm good at it. I enjoy it, but how do you make a living at it? And never really thought about that hard. I just knew that I could, I will, and that's forced. Here I am making $5 a day. Yes, great actor, $5 a day. Come on.
Man, is that the case? $5 a day, man.
Hey, man, look, I do it for the love. I do it for the love, not for the money.
I understand that. I understand that. I think you showed it yourself, man. You were actually the first American to make it into to Mount View, right?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that, Corey. It's gonna be a lot. I was the first African American to get the full scholarship to Mount View Theater School, which was a big deal for Dayton and Biscuit, big deal for my high school, Belmont High School, and everybody, and a big deal for me, obviously. But what it taught me when I got there was that I had a lot of learning to do. I had a lot of responsibilities because of that honor. I could sing very well. I could dance very well. I used to dance with DCDC Dayton Contemporary Dance Company. But my reading skills wasn't up to par. I would be sitting around these students with their O levels and A levels education, and they would read Shakespeare like it was a comic book. And wasn't the case for Curtis, little black boy from the west side of Dayton. So I had to pull it up, man, and pull and do the hard work. I would stay in school literally, and I'm not making this up. I would stay in that building for almost 11 hours a day because I would get there early. I would ask for the assignments before so that I would be prepared and ready to do that day's work. And thinking about it now, it's kind of stressful. But I made it through. Came to the other side. I think I know a couple of things about acting. I think I know a few things or two.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. I think you even did an interview. You said you were homeless beforehand. Is that correct or?
Well, that was years later. Years later, after I was married. I had three children. I have five children now. At the time, I had three children. Curtis, Isis, and Kimani, and I was divorced, so I was a single dad. And yeah, the U.S. Marshals came to the door and they said, you know what, we'll stay here as long as you want, but once you leave out of this place, you can't come back. So I need you to collect all your things, and I need for you to head out. It was a rough day, Corey. That was a rough day, and so we were still like in our pajamas. I think the children were off for school that day, and it was shocking, man, because nobody really came to that apartment and knocked on the door, and he was knocking hard. And so literally we just grabbed whatever we could. And I had like this whole big jar of pennies and nickels and dimes. I just grabbed it, bro. And I said, y'all, let's go. And we went to a friend's house, and that lasted for a few months, man. And I vowed to never be in that position again.
Definitely happy that you don't have to go back to that. One of your hit series, the one everybody's going to be talking about, is going to be The Shy. I mean, tell me a little bit about this audition and how did this all come around, The Shy, man?
Wow, The Shy. So this is The Shy sixth season, and now what's airing on Showtime and Paramount Plus is the second half of the 6th season. I joined the cast season 2 after a stellar season 1 year. I became a fan of the show and dealing with, you know, real Black issues and not sugarcoating it and not trying to overdraw dramatize it. You know what I mean? It was just kind of basic, real to life, and I hadn't seen that in a while. And I was like, wow, that would be a really cool show to be a part of. And thus, I got an audition to audition for it, and that was it was by self tape, and I sent them the tape. And what was interesting about this audition, Corey, was that at the time, the character, they said, we want to see two sides of him, right? We want to see two sides. We want to see Otis Perry and we want to see Douda. So Otis Perry is a businessman, straightforward, straight laced, no inklings of being villainous or evil or whatsoever. And then Douda is a straight up Douda. I mean, straight up killer, just nasty villain. But what we don't want to see is some hard turn, some hard switch. So like all of a sudden you're like, you're some nice little nerdy guy, right? Then you turn to this bad guy. We want it to be seamless. And that's like an actor's dream, right? Because a lot of time on television shows, they do want the hard cut and a hard turn, right? They don't have the time to massage a character into those two different sides. And so if I got it or not, it was just the challenge of doing that which was really exciting for me. So I put the work in, and obviously Ayanna Floyd Davis was a showrunner at the time. Of course, Lena Waithe created the series, and got a call back saying, hey, they want you to come in and do the show. And at the initial contract, I was only contracted for 3 episodes, and then subsequently here I am 6 seasons later after that. So yeah, it turned out to
No,
be really well.
that's definitely awesome, man. I'm glad that worked out for me. You know, I know one of the things that you mentioned was being authentic. How much of your character is like actually like I'm a little bit like that. I'm a little bit like Otis in this sense. I'm a little bit like Douda in this sense.
Uh, well, as actors, what we do in general, Corey, is that we collect information, right? We collect all this information and we store it. So for me, whenever I have a character, it's from the inside out and not like the outside in. You know, I'm not like trying to put on a character and become something. I'm trying to find what's inside of me to make this character be as three-dimensional as possible, right? So although although I am not like Douda, I am Douda. Although I am not like Otis, I am Otis, if that makes any sense. It's you find the situation, and then the beauty of it is you get to push yourself in a safe environment to a place that maybe, hopefully, you don't ever have to go in real life in Douda's case, right?
Right.
So that's, I think, makes it authentic, because I think we can immediately see when somebody is not being real and they're trying to be whatever the case may be, very sad and they're a very strong person and they haven't done the work, or very strong villainous person and they're not really that, or it's just too much. It's like, yeah, that was kind of corny. But I feel like once you kind of find out what aligns with you and the character, and then what doesn't align between you guys, and be trying to reach for that, that becomes the journey. And people like to see the journey. People like to see people work to get somewhere, right? um but I can turn Douda on at any time. You know what I mean? When it's there, it's there. When it's not there, it's not there.
No, I definitely understand. It took a little bit of the Meisner technique. Acting is the ability to live truthfully under the given
Say it.
imaginary circumstances.
And all of
Yeah.
that comes from Stanislavski. You know what I mean? Meisner is a
Right.
part of the submarine of Stanislavski, of course.
Makes sense. No, it makes sense. So when you're playing a character such as Otis Perry, Douda, and things of that nature, I can imagine that it weighs a lot on your mental health, and that The Shy is one of the series that you said talks a lot about the issues that society is facing. Talk to
Mhm.
me a little bit about how you decompress and how do you kind of put that to the side. I know that you mentioned you have emotional support dog, or at least your publicist did.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like at the end of the pandemic and going into season 4, I started to feel myself pulling away and being really closed in. And I kind of suffer from depression in general, you know what I mean? There prior times. And after the pandemic and going into that next year, there was a lot of change happening in my life. My youngest children, they're twins and they're 20 now, but they were leaving the house. So my wife and I were becoming empty nesters. So that was playing on my head on how what is our life going to look like after that? What is that going to be? Um, the character of Douda himself was becoming darker. If you remember, at first he was, like I said, he was a businessman in the villain. So I had kind of a balance, and then he became the mayor and the businessman and the villain. So I had a lot of things to play on. But as we started to move closer into the end of season 4 into 5, he began to be just dark and evil. So that also made me pull away from people because I was trying to find how to play that without um, getting in the way of what the creators wanted and how to make it live truthfully. So all of this, Corey, started to lead me to this dark place. And eventually I found I was pulling away from my wife. I wasn't talking to her as often as I was being. I would just kind of be sitting in my apartment by myself. I would take walks, which normally would help me. I would be boxing, which normally used to help me relax, whatever. It just wasn't doing it. It wasn't satisfying. And so I decided to start therapy again. And I reached out and I found this young man and it took me a minute to find him. And I didn't tell anybody that I was even doing this, bro. I was just kind of doing it on my own. And then he was the one who mentioned maybe it would be a good idea to get an emotional support animal. And in doing that, I found Bolo, and the focus. What that does sometimes for me is give me a different someone else and something else to focus on, to have to pay attention to. So when I feel myself going into these dark places and thinking only about what's wrong when there's so many things that are right, I need to take care of him. I need to go for a walk with him. He has to be outside for a good amount of time. So, I have to walk at least a couple of miles or so. He likes to play. Whenever I get anxious or whatever, you'll see him. He'll come up. He'll put his head on my lap. I'll have to pet him or whatever else. Sometimes when I'm angry or something, I can voice some loud. I can yell or whatever, and I can see his reaction. I can feel, that makes me recognize. Oh, hold on, you're being too much right now. You need to relax that tone. So it's a real give and take between the two of us, and it's helped me a lot. Dare I say, it's helped me a lot, bro. Yeah.
I was about to say, how does Bolo know when to come and play, and how does it how does Bolo pick up on that? Is it classes? What is it?
Well, he did do training for about 6.5 months, and he's only 2 years old, so he's only been with me for 2 years now, and it's amazing, man. Sometimes I don't even know. Like, I can be in a situation. I remember one time we was at a class, and somebody walked up on us, and I didn't particularly like their energy, right? But we're grown people, and we know how to just ignore it and move on. But they continued to talk, and I was like, hey, and I felt myself getting a little riled, and sure enough, he was right. He was starting to growl. He's like, to this person. He never growls, bro. He's never shown that kind of aggression. So it was weird. It was like he felt my energy, knew that this was a threat to both of us, and decided to also say, hey, step back. And like, if I'm just sitting here now and I start to get anxious, I don't know how he picks up on it. He'll sit straight up. He'll look at me. His head will kind of tilt. Then he'll walk over a little. He'll just put his head down on me. And I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't even really know I needed this, but I did. And I don't know how they know, man. I really don't know how they know.
Is Bolo a Doberman? That's like my last question. I think so. My dad loved Dobermans. I mean,
Yeah.
my friend dad did.
Yeah, and they're what do they call them? Velcro dogs anyway. Dobermans are Velcro dogs anyway. They're like big, huge lap dogs. Yes, the answer to your question is yes. He's a European red rust Doberman. And now he's at 110 pounds.
Wow.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. If you look at my Instagram, I think I might have a couple of pictures of him sitting up there. Yeah, he is. And he's such a latch dog. Sometimes you're gonna be like, bruh, I'm busy in here. Can you not come in here? Come on. He'd be like, oh, just making sure everybody's good. Okay, I'm going back on up. Yeah.
Hey, as they say, a dog is man's best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely appreciate you doing this with me, Curtis. Is there anything that I did not talk about or that we did not speak about that you want to elaborate on?
No, man. I keep it open. I no, I feel like we touched base on everything, and I appreciate your time, Corey. I really do.
I do, man. Well, hey, everybody, you heard it here first. Curtis Cook, give it up for the man.